We often assume our memories are tied to a biological lottery, a combination of genetics and age that we have no power to change. But two massive, decades-long studies tracking thousands of people in the United States and Japan suggest a different reality. The data tells us that cognitive decline is highly responsive to specific dietary patterns. This chart shows how a single pantry staple, dietary fiber, slashed the incidence of dementia by roughly a third, and in specific subgroups by over 50%. To understand how to achieve these numbers, we are analyzing the 20-year Japanese middle-age study, the older U.S. cohort, the 3 biological mechanisms driving this protection, and the specific foods you need on your grocery list. Building cognitive longevity starts in the produce aisle, where specific dietary choices directly impact the aging process. The circulatory risk and community study in Japan began tracking dietary habits in the 1980s. They focused specifically on middle-aged adults between 40 and 64 years old. Researchers followed these individuals for nearly 20 years to document who eventually required care for disabling dementia. This bar chart compares long-term outcomes based on diet. Adults in the highest quartile of total fiber intake had a 26% lower risk of developing disabling dementia. When researchers broke that total number down, they found a distinct variable. Soluble fiber was the specific subtype driving this long-term risk reduction in the Japanese population. And when looking at exactly what these adults were eating, one food source showed a strong inverse association with dementia cases: potatoes. Eating foods rich in soluble fiber during middle age constructs a 20-year shield against future cognitive decline. Now look at the Rush Memory and Aging Project in the United States. This study shifted the focus to older adults with an average age of 81. For roughly 7 years, researchers cross-referenced detailed annual dietary surveys with new diagnoses of dementia. This data plot maps the U.S. cohort's total fiber intake from the lowest 20% to the highest. Adults consuming the most fiber saw a 34% drop in their dementia risk, but a subsample analyzing specific fiber types found an even sharper drop. Participants maximizing insoluble fiber achieved a 54% reduction in risk. Even at 80 years old, the aging brain remains responsive to dietary intervention. It is never too late to begin protecting your mind. The transition from digesting plant matter in the stomach to protecting neurons in the brain happens through 3 biological pathways. First is glycemic control. Fiber slows digestion, which blunts blood sugar spikes. Keeping blood sugar steady prevents long-term damage to the cerebral blood vessels that feed the brain. Second is the reduction of inflammation. Consuming high amounts of fiber lowers systemic inflammation throughout the body, removing a known driver of neurodegeneration. Third is the gut-brain axis. Fiber feeds your gut microbiome. When bacteria ferment that fiber, they generate neuroprotective chemicals that send signals directly to the brain. Dietary fiber operates as a multi-system biological defense, securing blood vessels, calming the immune system, and nourishing the microbiome. Combining the insights from both global studies gives us a clear objective. Building a comprehensive defense requires a diet rich in both soluble and insoluble fiber. For soluble fiber, look to the potatoes highlighted in the Japanese data, along with foods like oats and beans. For insoluble fiber, use the findings from the U.S. study and stock up on whole grains, nuts, and fibrous leafy greens. You do not need a perfect diet to see the benefits. Even adding a single high-fiber side dish each day adds a measurable layer of protection against cognitive decline. By using both types of fiber to manage blood sugar, calm systemic inflammation, and feed the gut-brain axis, you maintain a lifelong neurological shield. The data is clear. Whether you are 45 or 85, your brain is ready to use these nutrients. Taking control of your cognitive longevity begins at your next meal.